Some quick insights. I have been in sales for over 12 years. I have helped my companies make over $150 million. A lot of my companies also helped companies make money too. One of my first startups worked with the major media companies all over the world. So we've had a lot of impact, and a lot of the things that I'm going to be sharing with you here is some of the stuff that we did there. I've led the sales strategy for 3 YC companies. Does everybody here know what Y Combinator is? Yep. Okay, cool. And I specialize in taking products and companies from 0 to 1. So I'll be able to share with you some of my experiences. And something else to know, the way that I'll be positioning this is you might have a product that is going to consumers, you might have a product that's going to enterprise companies, you might have a product that's going to small to mid-sized businesses. Everything I'm going to be sharing with you is applicable for all of it. It just depends on how you do it, okay? So let's look at the agenda. There's going to be 3 parts. The whole presentation should take about an hour. The first part is going to be, of course, barriers to entry. I'm going to do a quick 20-year history, American history lesson. I didn't realize I was going to be an American history teacher, but I'm going to do it. And of course, give you guys the current American buyer landscape. That will take us into part 2, which is building trust and how we can build trust and some of the things that you guys can do to build trust with these American companies or consumers that you will be selling to. And then of course, part 3, how to even get your first customer and the steps to that. So this is the state of America. It really sucks. I'm not kidding you. When I made this presentation, I had another sad slide here, and this happened over the weekend. It's crazy. It's crazy what is happening in the United States right now.
You're welcome.
And I have to say that American sentiments with Russia are not great. A lot of the tragedies that are occurring, we, of course, aren't blaming ourselves, we're blaming others, but a lot of the tragedies that are occurring, we see it and we are thinking that we're living in this hate-filled rhetoric that's led by our politicians. And we just have this very, very strong animosity towards Russia right now because of it. In fact, I have to ask, can anyone tell me when the last time Americans were cheering for the Russians? 1991? Actually, kind of close.
Yeah, when
Last year was World Cup.
it was when Russians helped fighting against either French or Britain forces.
When we sold Alaska to it.
19th century.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
more recent, actually.
Yeah, actually, it was Chernobyl, the TV show. No, seriously, I'm not even kidding you. Like this show was amazing. It went all over the United States, and everybody was talking about it, and everybody was rooting for you guys, and everybody was rooting for the scientists and rooting for the people on the ground. It humanized Russia and this area like nothing we've ever seen before, because normally when we watch American television and we think of Russians, there's a very negative stereotype, right?
There is a problem that it's not a Russia.
Well, I know, Belarus. I know it's in Belarus, but what?
Ukraine, it's close to Belarus.
Ukraine, Belarus. This is. Look at guys. This is perfect. It shows how naive we Americans are.
Do you recognize the difference between Ukraine and Russia because the Chernobyl is Ukraine?
It was all in that same area. Okay, part 1. Does anyone know what happened in 1995? Changed the face of the world as we know it.
First browser.
First browser, Tim Berners-Lee brought the World Wide Web to the world. and technology exploded. That's all I'm going to talk about with the 90s, but this is something that I want you to think of. 1995. It was so recent and how much has changed since then. So let's start in the 2000s. In the United States, President Bush becomes our president. And what happens very short into his term? We had the biggest terrorist attack on US soil. It was insane. Everybody knows where they were when this happened, at least in the United States. And as Americans, it didn't matter if you were Republican, it didn't matter if you were Democrat, it didn't matter if you were black, white, gay, straight. We came together as one, and we were united. We were united against terrorists. We were united against these bad guys that were attacking us. And, you know, war is expensive, and we were okay with it. We wanted to spend all the money we could to help keep our citizens safe. And around this time, the advent of social media and social media platforms started to come on the scene. So, of course, LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram all happened in the mid-2000s. Something else that was pretty cool that happened was the iPhone. The internet, the World Wide Web, was brought to us in 1995. 12 years later, we had the iPhone. 12 years later from the iPhone is today, right? It's crazy if you really break it up to see what we're able to do and how much technology has impacted our lives. We have an entire computer, we have an entire operating system, we have the world's information in our pocket. But something else was looming in the background. It wasn't all good. Of course, American capitalism has its negativities and its stereotypes. And there's always greed. And in 2008, September of 2008, Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, and it sent shockwaves throughout the entire stock market. Not only our stock market, but it ended up collapsing all the markets, our economy, and then the world economy. So whenever there's an economic downturn or catastrophe, political transitions happen. And so we went from a very conservative president to a very liberal president, and we elected President Obama with the idea that hope and change will bring about the things that we need to make our world a better place. The problem is the economy was collapsing. Nobody could get a job. Nobody could save their home. Everybody was struggling. And we had to spend to save our economy. I know Bush introduced a stimulus package, Obama introduced a stimulus package, but remember, this is 7 years after the terrorist attack. We've been spending trillions of dollars on war. So we're now spending trillions of dollars. Where are we getting this money from? We're borrowing it from somewhere. People were not happy. It didn't matter if you're a liberal or if you're a Democrat. People were pissed. And not only that, if you're a liberal, you're mad at the Republicans because Bush did it. If you're a Republican, you're mad at the Democrats because Obama did it. Everybody's blaming each other. No one wants to take ownership for it. And that brings us into this recent decade. The great thing, though, about those stimulus packages was that it worked. And it turned our economy around, and it turned our economy around very quickly. But no one really paid attention to that. No one really remembered that. No one really thought of that because we just went through this crisis. We had never experienced anything like that since before our time, before our parents' time. It was our grandparents' time with the Great Recession in the 1920s. So it left a scar that was never and would never be healed. With that said, social networking also shot up. So I'm over here mad at those guys are over there mad at the liberals, and what we're doing is we're staying in our perspective corners, and we're getting stronger and stronger in our networks and in our thoughts, and we're getting validated by the people who think the way that we think, rather than having this cross hybrid of a balanced approach. And what network has the most social interaction, as you guys can see? Facebook. And what else happened around this time? Yeah, elections. And so we're sitting over here in our angry corners with our friends, thinking about the same things, talking the same things. And what's happening behind the scenes without us even realizing is there are companies collecting massive, massive amounts of data about us. And they're using that data to target us specifically and make us think a certain way, and spreading misinformation and spreading fake news. And they're influencing an entire segment of the American population to think a certain way. And it's easier to spread hate than it is to spread love. And Donald Trump won. He became our president. This guy that goes around and calls Mexicans animals and every other horrible thing you can imagine. He is spreading hate like we've never seen before, but hate works. And it's been driving our country to this divisive place that we are right now. And the thing that everybody thinks of when we think of Donald Trump winning the election is not that Donald Trump won the election. It's that Russia meddled with our elections, that Cambridge Analytica occurred and allowed this base of people that were secretly racist now coming out and being proudly racist. It's kind of insane, and it's been insane to experience this over the last couple of years. And we're truly making America hate again. There are derogatory slurs popping up and graffiti all over the place. And we have had more mass shootings this year than there have been days. That's insane, guys. That's like, it boggles my mind. And it really breaks my heart. And I have to tell you that the sentiment out there is that it's because of Russian influence, because of meddling in our elections, because of taking these 5,000 data points on every single American citizen and influencing the way that we think and influencing the way that we vote. And the thing is, I know, and we all know, that it's not the citizens of Russia, obviously. But unfortunately, when you're living and you're breathing it, it's hard to differentiate. And it's hard to forget about it, or it's hard to have a great conversation and then read an article that was literally posted last week. This is July 25th, 2019, the New York Times. Russia targeted election systems in all 50 states. So it doesn't matter like what side of the fence you are or what you believe. That's the information that we're receiving, and that's the information what we're seeing. It's not even like a person in Russia. It's literally, they're just saying the whole country did it. Like all of you guys, every single person, yeah.
Can we sue them?
I don't know, maybe. Try. So what does this do? What does stuff like this do? You can actually build an app, and you can get widespread adoption in America in a weekend. In literally a weekend, you can have every single American using an app overnight. And every single politician in the United States is going to call for you to take it down. Because it happens. Because we are so insecure about what we don't know. We're so insecure because we have this perception that you guys are smart and you're hackers and you're gonna do something that we don't know. You're all scientists over there. Like, I can't trust you, not because I don't want to, but because like you probably know more than I do. So the moment they realized that FaceApp was built by a Russian, the minority senator leader went up, took a press conference and said, everybody delete this app, take it out, they're getting your data. Like, that's the fear. So I know it's not reality. We all know it's not like, I'm here, I'm talking to you guys, like, it's not reality, but the problem is, that is the perception. And when the New York Times says Russia, the entire country, all, millions of you guys, that's what it does to us on a day-to-day basis. And then we wake up and we have mass murders. And we wake up and there's all this hate. We wake up and there's all this anger. And then we have our president get on the screen and vouch for these white supremacists. It drives you mad. So this is the wall that you guys are climbing when you're selling into the American market. Without ropes. Like you're free soloing this wall, okay? Like I couldn't actually. That's good. That's good. So, yeah.
And what do you think, what happened inside the United States with a, Russian company or
I love this question. I'm going to answer that in just a second, okay?
Okay.
So, how do you build trust? And this is a very, very good question because I was introduced to ChatFuel through the YC network. And it was interesting to me because I thought, oh my goodness, would I be, this is before I even talked to them, would I be committing treason by talking to a Facebook chatbot company built by Russians? Not even kidding. But ChatFuel has incredible social proof. They are a part of the Y Combinator network. They have some of the best American investors that is in Silicon Valley. And not only that, they work with every single American institution that exists. So I figured, before I even talked to them, like, if I'm committing treason, it's basically going to take down like all of everything that's making America great. So I got on the phone with Kachin. We had a conversation. I was like, man, this company sounds incredible. It sounds way too good to be true. They like are super cool. They seem like me. It seems like they're doing something really, really neat. It's helping businesses make more money. It's positioning them in a way that, you know, landing pages and email marketing used to do. It's like, this is the evolution of marketing technology. I feel like I need to be a part of it. I talked to Dima. He just reaffirmed those assumptions and those sentiments I had on the first call. I went out to San Francisco. I met with them. I was in their office. I was like, oh, why was I even thinking that? Like, this is just an American startup. Okay. But then I came here. And I gotta tell you, I've had like seriously the best week of my life in so many ways. Not just because of the team, but the city that's welcomed me and everybody that I've had the opportunity to meet. And I come into this office, and the first day I was here, people were doing yoga before work started. And the aura just felt so amazing. And then once everyone was done with yoga, everyone was hard at work. And they're so focused, and they're so dedicated, and they're so smart, and they challenge assumptions. And it has been an incredible experience because, yes, I was a part of it in the United States, and I took it for granted. But to see that here, of course, that's the reality. Of course, that's the situation. But I got to tell you, like, even being in America and working with ChatFuel, it's hard to think that that's the truth here, you know? But this company and this experience has been awesome. And they've been so smart, and we did a sales training this last week, and so receptive, and we've had so much fun that I got to tell you, this was the picture I saw before the interview that I had with the company. And that was scary. I mean, and this also was the picture as the avatar to have American customers sign up for a demonstration. And so I was like, hey, maybe we won't work together, maybe we will, but at least change your avatar, please. Like, because who would you rather buy from? Right? We actually changed the avatar, and instantly our open rates and our booking rates and our demo rates all went up. I don't have the exact stats for you, but it's crazy, even just the perception of what you see. So
use the name Amanda.
And I said, use the name Amanda. Doesn't get more American than that. So if you want to go into the US market, one of the things you have to do to help add trust and to help break down those barriers is we need to Americanize ourselves. So what's the easiest way to Americanize ourselves? Can anyone guess? Smiling. Again, I don't know why we're happy, okay? They must put antidepressants in our water or something. But we are. Every picture you see of every single company, people are smiling, people are having fun. And I gotta tell you guys, it's genuine. It really is authentic. And the reason I believe that it is authentic is because we are a country of immigrants. We all came from immigrants. Unless you were a Native American, which there's like none of them, we got rid of all of them, sadly, but there's like very few. Unless you are a Native American, you're an immigrant or you're a descendant of an immigrant. And they came to America for a better future for themselves, a better future for their children. And so we're dreamers. We're literally dreamers. We're dreaming of a better tomorrow. So even though things are hard right now, and even though it's really, really ugly, we still dream that things will be better. And we still are inspired that we have the opportunity to build a future where we have some sort of affluence. So we got to Americanize this.
That just looks like a happy Russian.
I will talk to, look, it's the same bow tie. It's okay. Yeah. So when you're going and you're building a web presence, or you have a web presence and you're targeting American companies, the easiest way to Americanize yourself, the first thing you can do is just change your team pictures. Smile. Smile, have a colorful background, colorful images. This is my team page for my company. We're all smiling, all colorful backgrounds. You want to know something? Besides me and my assistant, no one's in North America. 75% of my company is outside the United States. Most companies in the United States, smiling, colorful background. Even corporate America, smiling, and for the most part, colorful background. It's just our way of interacting. It's our authentic self meeting others that are excited about an opportunity. If you're in business, it's because you want to succeed, you want to do something greater. So an easy trick, also just create an American LLC or incorporate an American company and get an American address. It's very, very affordable. You can find a website that can create an LLC. You can spend $500 US, and then you can, of course, rent a PO box. Now all of a sudden, you have an address in the United States, you have a business in the United States, and you're no longer a Russian company that's selling to them, you're an American company that's selling to an American company. They're buying from an American company. They're not buying from a Russian company. And you have to abide by American laws.
So, what if the team has Russian names, for example, in American company?
Yeah. Well, so remember, yes, you can. We are a land of immigrants. We have plenty of people with names that aren't necessarily Amanda, right? So you can keep your name, or what a lot of people do is they'll just shorten their last name, or they'll shorten their first name. So instead of like Alexander Romanovsky, it's AR. Yeah. I saw a hand somewhere. Anywhere? Okay. All right. Yeah.
Is there any difference if company incorporated in Finnish, for example?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is there any difference for American company incorporated outside of Russia but not in the United States?
So the biggest thing that the differences between like an Inc., like an S corporation, a C corporation, or an LLC. An LLC is a limited liability corporation that generally people will do because it's easier because you can have one person own it. Whereas like if you're incorporating, you're a C corp, then that gives you the ability to raise money. So most people will do a C corp if they want to raise funds for that particular company. The limited liability company is better with regards to taxes. So you're not doing double taxation.
The question was like, does it matter if a company does it have to be in America or can it be like in Europe somewhere? As long as it's outside of Russia, is that still okay?
Yeah, of course. It's always better to be in America. Americans want to work with American companies. But yes, outside of Russia is better. Honesty.
Should we pass intellectual property rights to the LLC?
I'm sorry?
Should we pass the intellectual property rights to the LLC company?
That's a great question. I will let you talk to a lawyer about that. It just depends. I have all of my IP with my American company. I do have a couple companies overseas, so I keep it within the American company, but I'm also an American citizen, so I know all the rules and regulations, so it just makes me feel more comfortable.
Could you please repeat the questions? Doesn't the LLC the question?
We have questions being asked.
Yes, great Great point. He had asked if we should pass the intellectual property rights to the American company. Okay, part 3. Before I jump in, any questions? All right, so we are going to talk about your first customer. I'm making 2 assumptions here while we do this. The first assumption is that you have a product or a clear product idea. So this talk isn't going to go over like creating a product idea. It's more about product positioning. And then of course, you have a good idea or a general idea of your target market or the person that you will be talking to. All right? You have to go to America. Seriously. This is one of the easiest ways to break down barriers and to build trust, because people will buy from you once they get to know you, once they sit across the aisle from you and meet you in person. Because there's just some weird thing that, like, if our border control lets you in, you're probably okay. But seriously, one of the main reasons I suggest going to America is you don't really understand the culture. You don't understand your market, therefore you wouldn't know how to position it. And I'm not even saying position it in terms of sales. I'm saying position it in terms of marketing collateral or data or anything you want to do. How do you know what to say and how to say it if you don't know the audience that you're speaking to? And you don't have to go to San Francisco, New York City, or LA. I know that's the popular spots, and of course you absolutely can go to those places, but we have a lot of money and a lot of businesses all over the United States. So depending on who that target market is, go to, yes, the biggest city, but you might get traction in the second biggest city. So maybe you're in a fintech company and you go to New York City. Of course, that makes sense. But there's also Dallas and Houston and the cities outside of Los Angeles like Irvine that have major financial institutions that you might have a better chance of connecting with. And one other thing that I'm going to say, do not hire any salespeople. Salespeople, this is like the best analogy. When I talk about hiring salespeople are like computers. Without a framework, they won't work. A computer is nothing without a framework or an operating system. A great salesperson that can take a company from 0 to 1 is not a salesperson, they're an entrepreneur. Okay? So the one thing that salespeople know how to do is they know how to sell themselves, so you will get sold and you will lose a lot of money because salespeople don't know how to do product market fit or product positioning. They're not looking at it from a holistic standpoint. Ben Horowitz famously quoted, "There is no silver bullet. You just can't hire a salesperson to go and sell this in the American market." Yes, of course, they bring the trust, but this process is going to take a bunch of lead bullets. And salespeople are lead bullets, but a lead bullet is going to do nothing. It's just going to fall on the ground. It can't hurt anyone or harm anyone. You have to build the gun. Actually, don't build the gun. You guys, sorry, it's too soon. But seriously, don't build a gun. I'm kidding there. But no.
We have enough guns.
Yes.
In the United States.
We have enough.
Another one.
But seriously, we need to give them the framework. We need to give them the understanding. We need to tell them exactly our competitive advantage. We need to tell them exactly how to position it. We need to tell them exactly everything that you've discovered in what I'm about to tell you, okay? But salespeople are not going to go out there and just create it, because what they'll do is, I promise you, they'll just waste your money and they'll sell you on why it's not working and why it's not successful. And they'll do a really good job at it for 6 months to a year until you get tired or your business goes out of business. So save up, go to America. If you want to be like nitty gritty, $2,000 like at a bare minimum, $5,000, just do as much as you can to save up to go there, spend some time in your market. But then you say, okay, well, I'm in America. Well, how do I meet people? I don't know anybody. I just know this girl that presented in Moscow. Like, I hope she returns my call. So you got to meet people. We have to do some work. There is no easy path. There is no silver bullet. And this is the work. 100 contacts a day. 100 emails, 100 phone calls, 100 LinkedIn messages. You know,
What do you do if I'm introvert?
I'm sorry?
If I'm introvert.
If you're an introvert? He asked, what would you do if I'm an introvert? Well, I'd say that sucks. Do you want to be an entrepreneur? I'll tell you a secret. I'm also, this is going to surprise everyone, I'm also an introvert. Like, I don't like networking one-on-one. I don't like it. I don't like sales, actually. This is not a lie. I graduated in 2008 from college with a degree in economics. I wanted to be an investment banker.
What goes wrong? The Lehman Brothers.
All the places I wanted to work went bankrupt. there was no investment banking jobs. And unfortunately, my parents had invested in real estate. We lost all of our money. I had nothing. We had nothing. I had a college degree and a dream, and the only thing that was hiring was sales because you eat what you kill. And so I got into it. And out of desperation, I succeeded, and I found a passion for it. And if you're really passionate about your business, if you're really passionate about the thing that you want to do, you'll take yourself out of that comfort zone and out of that place. But the reason why 100 is important is because since I've been doing it for so long, I've realized that 100 points of contact, no matter which way you do it, will actually get you a yes. It's just a numbers game. You might get more. You might get less. Depends what your avatar is. But it is a numbers game. You reach out to enough people in enough ways, you will get people to agree to meet with you. You just have to be persistent. I'll send you guys this sample of an email, but you also have to write very specific emails if you want it to actually get a response and you want it to get a yes. So to Prospect in America, from Americanize your name if possible, because it just makes it more likely for people to open. Subject, first name, would love some advice. Hi, Bob. I'll be in Austin in a month, and I was hoping I can pick your brain. I noticed online you insert something they're knowledgeable in, the thing you want to know about. This is the guy that you're reaching out to, by the way, is your prospect. This is your customer. I noticed you're knowledgeable in whatever is that market, right? Whatever is that thing. And I'm looking to develop a product in said industry and would love to understand the market dynamics better. May I treat you to, and then put in a coffee shop or a lunch spot or a nice dinner spot right next to his office. Again, you're doing your research. Where does he work? Where is it located? What's around there that I can take him to? On either of these days, be specific, give 2 options, because it's not fluff and you don't just like go back and forth for a million different times. Make it up. Say you'll be there in a month. If they don't respond, they don't respond. Don't buy your ticket. Who cares? And then you can get very specific as you're following up and booking meetings around that. It'll only take about 10 to 15 minutes, and it would mean the world to me. Again, we're emotive, we're emotional. These types of communications to people we've never met is real. People do it all the time. And it shows that you're investigating your target market. It shows you're investigating who this person is, and you genuinely want to know about him and what he does so that you can then understand the market that you're going to be selling into.
Sorry, but what's the point for Bob to meet with me, or other? I mean, when he reads this email, what's the point for him in this meeting?
So this guy would be somebody you would sell to.
But why would he want to meet?
Yes, what would be his
To
motivation?
give him
His motivation for meeting with you.
Ego. People love to. Yeah, free coffee. People love to talk about themselves. People love to be known as a person. That's why I said don't go to the biggest cities in America, because the best customers in the biggest cities already get enough of that. But you go to these like mid-markets and you reach out to a person, you say, Jacqueline, wow, you're really an expert in sales, and I'm looking to develop a product. I'm looking to develop a sales playbook for my team. And I would just love to understand this industry better. I don't know anything about it. Like, may I treat you to coffee at Starbucks on 35th Street? It would mean the world to me. It would really only just take 10 to 15 minutes. That's a genuine reach out, you know? I would look at that and be like, yeah, of course. I might not be able to meet you in person, but could we just do a phone call instead? Boom, you got a phone call. You know, he wants to meet you in person, even better. You've developed now a personal connection with that person.
Is it okay to pay for that meeting? Because I heard that people in America like to take the money in change of, and they ask if you can pay me, maybe $30 or something.
To pay to like have a meeting, I'll pay you for your time. You can do that, and I'm not saying not to do that, but we generally would rather just help and do something for somebody else. If we're paid for our time, then it's like, oh, what is my time? What's the value of my time? And then they might ask for like an exorbitant amount of money, and then it's not a good balance. It's not a good trade. I would suggest that you'll get better results if you just offer, because again, people will want to help. Great question. And the question he had asked was, what about just offering to pay for their time instead? The other thing, cheers, my name, cheers. Very emotive, very happy. I'm smiling. That's my name. That's my fake American address. Yes?
Yeah, and where did you find this email? And this is LinkedIn or what do you?
Yeah, so this is the shitty part of it. There's a couple different plugins that you can help you get their email from LinkedIn. You can go to their website. Sometimes they'll give you an email of somebody else, and then just using that same logic. It's not always going to work. It's not always going to be perfect. And then, of course, there's things in lists you can buy that will give you names and emails and the job titles. So you could say, hey, I need a certain number of chief marketing officers at every single, I don't know, baby product company in the United States that sells to these markets. And then they could build those lists for you. So what I would suggest, though, is getting the plugin. You'll have to Google it. I don't know what they have here. Hunter.io. There you go. First name. She asked, are there any catchy subjects? I would say the subject you would write to your friend or your colleague or an acquaintance. The one I use often is first name, hoping to help. First name, would love some advice. First name, something, you know, it's not catchy, but people don't open catchy emails anymore because everybody's doing a catchy email. But yeah, that's a good question. And I promise you one thing. You will be unmotivated. You will literally want to take the pencil that's on your desk and jam it in your eyeball. It is the worst part of sales. It is the worst part of sales. But that is the difference between making it in America and not making it in America. We are all gritty. We all do this. One of my closest friends has taken his company from nothing to $60 million in 20 months. $60 million, 20 months. He calls this the boring work. He has a podcast, Do the Boring Work. This is the boring work. It is not beneath him. It's not beneath me. It's not beneath anybody that really wants to make it in America. It is hard work. There are no silver bullets. It is lead bullets, and you have to do it. You will be unmotivated. It will suck. You will get no's. Nobody will respond. You will think that this is awful. You will hate everything that you're doing. Just know that's right. Okay? The first startup I worked for, the CEO spent 2.5 years on the road, banging his desk on every single media publisher's office, boardrooms, over and over and over. His company now owns 80% of the market. You have to put in the work. And that is how you're going to build trust. They're going to keep seeing you over and over and over and over again. Maybe they didn't take that first meeting. Maybe they didn't take that second meeting. But my goodness, you're talking to all their friends now. And all their friends are working with you. And you've just been in the picture. Eventually, they're going to be like, all right, let's talk. You're not going to go anywhere. Might as well work with you. Come on. So you get that first meeting. So you've done all this work. You're super excited. Finally in America, you have this meeting, or maybe it's a phone call, right? Maybe they agreed to a phone call. Do not try and sell them. How do you know what to sell them? Yes, you might have a beautiful product. Yes, it might help thousands of companies or thousands of people here in this country. It doesn't matter. The way it helps people or the way it works with people here might be completely different than the way it helps with companies and people in the United States. We have to learn everything possible. We have to learn everything we need to know about that person so we know exactly how to position the product and then sell them at a future point. Because I promise you, once you make that relationship, you will have an opportunity to sell them again. We're very strong with the relationships. We will give you another chance. You have a meeting, you have a coffee meeting with us, you have a dinner with us, you have a lunch with us, you have a phone call with us. If I don't get sold on that call, if I don't get sold at that meeting, if I'm just giving advice and you reach out again, I'm thinking you don't want anything from me other than advice. And I love giving advice. So what are these objectives when you have that first meeting, when you are talking to people? What are the objectives then? What are you trying to get out of it? Well, you have to understand your market dynamics, okay? I also call this the variables. Because if you understand this about your market in America, then you will be able to perfectly position and sell whatever it is that you are bringing to us, okay? The first one is problems and daily obstacles when you're talking to a person. What's their day-to-day problem? What's their day-to-day daily obstacles? You're talking to a doctor, right? What does he face every single day in the United States? I don't know what the problems are for doctors here in Russia, but the problems in America are, I went in to help people. I went in to bring about a holistic approach to medicine. I cared about people's health. I didn't go into it to fight with the insurance companies. I didn't go into it to basically not give any kind of dedicated care to any of my patients and just churn them and burn them because that's the only way I can make an affordable wage. What are those problems? What are those daily obstacles? I guarantee you, it doesn't matter if it's the same person, it's going to be different in America. What's their willingness to spend? While we make, on average, a lot of money per person, and while companies can make a lot of money, and you could demand probably more for what you're selling here, there may be more willingness to spend or less willingness to spend. You might be underpricing your product. You might be overpricing your product. How do we know? Where's that urgency? What's their budget? And then, of course, a deep business understanding. If you are building, or if you have a product that makes it easy to assemble furniture, right? And you're going and you're talking to these folks that build furniture, they know about furniture. They don't know about software. They don't know about efficiency. They don't know about marketing automation. They don't know about any of this other stuff. They only know about this chair. I went into business to build chairs. I love chairs. Chairs are the greatest. Okay? You know software, or you know the product that you built, but do you know chairs the way I know chairs? Get a deep business understanding of what it is that I do so that when we're talking about my business, not your business, and then I'm going to trust you. Because that means you truly understand me and you truly understand what I'm going through. And therefore, you can also ask about my hopes and my dreams and my futures and my goals. Yes, I'm a doctor. I'm working with my patients. I hate it. I'm fighting these these insurance companies. But like, is that what I want to do every day? What are my goals for the future? What are my hopes? And who out there is possibly doing what you're doing? You know, it might be very hard to do research on companies in these different locations that are doing what you're doing. What if there's a company in America? You're not going to know until you go and you talk to people. I discover new competitors to what I'm doing every single day. I Google the industry all the time. But until you're out there talking to folks and seeing who they're using and how they're solving that problem, you won't know who your competition is. If you don't know who your competition is, you don't know how to differentiate your product. So how can you sell them if you can't differentiate it? And then of course, yes, the obvious thing is we have to make sure they're a decision maker. But the thing that's so wonderful about companies in America is we have flat organizations. A lot of people have the ability to be the decision maker. So maybe you're reaching out to founders, maybe you're reaching out to CEOs, maybe you're reaching out to COOs, when all you had to do was reach out to the marketing manager. It's a heck of a lot easier to get a hold of the marketing manager than it is the chief marketing officer. You might be in an industry where the decision makers can go as low as an entry-level person. We give a lot of credit to the people that we hire, and we enable them and we empower them to make decisions. And sometimes we even give them the money or the ability to invest in something. So the reason why I included that last one is because, yes, the person that owns the company, of course, they can make the decision, but who else can make the decision? Maybe your job's a lot easier than you think it is. And the other thing is, companies don't buy. We always think of this. We think, oh, I sold Forbes, or I sold General Electric, or I sold this company. But it's not Forbes. Forbes isn't a person. There was a person at Forbes that you talked to, that you were able to convey your message in a way that they realized, wow, you're going to solve a major pain point for me. So like, you're looking at this doctor. It's about him. It's about his problems. It's about his pain. It's about his obstacles. It's about his day-to-day. He's got a family at home. He's got a wife at home. They never see him. They're upset. He's stressed out. He's not sleeping. He's drinking. Who knows, right? We don't know who this person is. We have to know who this person is in order to sell to them. These are the variables that we have to find out, because it's going to present us with the solution. We are going to know the pain and urgency that we can push on. We're going to know their budget so we can price it appropriately so that we don't leave any money on the table. We're going to build trust because we have a deep business understanding. And then we can set appropriate expectations once we know their hopes and dreams. Oh, this thing, it's going to make me $1 million. Oh, I'm so excited. No, it's not, but like maybe like $10. Okay, I'd rather have $10, but we got to set proper expectations. We have to understand what it is that they think this like magic thing is going to do for us. We also have to understand our competitive advantage and who else can say yes. So I have to say that the art of selling is simply math. And this is the thing that surprises people the most. I hate selling. I love math, honestly. And I love people too. We have to have a little empathy as well. And in any math equation, you can't solve the problems if you can't solve the variables. If you haven't solved the variables, you can't solve the problem. So those are the variables. In any kind of general sales conversation, this is where you should spend the most of your time is the discovery. So 1 to 2 minutes. How's the weather? I like your backpack. That's really cool. Tell me about life in Moscow. Anything, like just to build like a connection with the person. Hey, thank you so much for coming here and listening to me talk. It really means a lot to me. I've invested a lot of time and energy into this, and I hope it was able to give you guys something that you can go home with. Throughout this next hour, I'm going to share with you all of this information. I'm going to ask you some questions. I hope you guys can respond to me, and then we'll see if this is even something that works for you. Very casual. It's just setting the tone, setting the structure for what's going to happen, and then jump into it. Ask them all of those questions, trying to find out everything about them. The easiest place to start is starting with them. What made you become a doctor? Do you like being a doctor? Tell me about your day-to-day life. Like, tell me about everything. I want to understand the industry. I come from Moscow. My best friend's a doctor. This is how he operates. This is how it works. I'm very curious. What's life for you like? Simple questions. They'll talk, and then you'll be able to ask follow-up questions and follow-up questions and follow-up questions, knowing in the back of your mind, you got to answer these variables. That will enable you to do a presentation, close, and follow up. So, rapport. This is simply American small talk. This is the hardest part for Russians, I've learned. We were doing a sales training, and they said, oh no, agenda is great. I always start off my calls with just the agenda. This is what we're doing. I'm gonna start and I'm gonna ask you some small, or he said something like, we do agenda first and then rapport. And so the agenda would be like, okay, first we're gonna have small talk, then I'm gonna ask questions. Because I know culturally it seems disingenuous, but it's not. It's really not. But it doesn't need to be a lot. It's just engaging. It's just enabling you to connect on a human level. Again, give an overview of what to expect. This gives structure. This makes the attendee feel like you know what you're doing. It enables you to be in control while making me feel safe to open up and have a conversation with you. And then, of course, like I said, this is where you go through the variables. And then when you're meeting someone for the very first time, I have to emphasize, we're not selling them, but this is a great opportunity to practice your pitch. They've given you all this information. You could say, all right, Dr. Bob, thank you so much for sharing. Because the product that I want to build and the product I want to bring here does these things. Can I just have a couple minutes of your time to share what we do for other doctors overseas? And just can you tell me how I can make it better for doctors here? What he's going to do is he's going to actually tell you how to sell him. It's brilliant. Tell me the way I'm pitching you wrong so that I can come back in a couple weeks and pitch you correctly. You'll get all of your answers because what you're going to do is you're going to practice the pitch based on the things that you know, and then he's going to give you feedback, and then you're going to iterate it for the next person, and the next person, and the next person, until you have it completely dialed down. You don't need salespeople. They're not going to do this. This is the formula that you have to give salespeople to do this for you, to take you from 1 to 10, okay? And the sell here, when you close, is to ask if you can reach out again. Hey, thank you so much. When I've perfected this, or when I've made those changes, or when I've, whatever the thing is, can I reach out to you and practice again? I'm not agreeing to buying. I'm just agreeing to help you. I'm your buddy. I want you to help. I want you to win. I want you to do well. And then, of course, thank them within 24 hours. Send them a handwritten note. That goes a long ways. Handwritten notes are something that people in America don't do, and every time I do it, it blows people away. Send them something that they might have mentioned that they liked. Shows that you're listening, shows that you cared. And then, of course, if what they shared, or as you get all of this market research collected and you realize you have to go back to the drawing board or go back to your product and make significant changes, if it's going to take several months before you can go back and sell again, maintain relationship. Reach out, check in, just so that when you're ready, you at least have your first prospect. So I'm going to ask you guys, how many of these conversations do you think you need to have to get your answers before you can start selling? How many? 3? Okay. 25?
100?
1? 100? 15 or 50? 50? Ah, close. 40. 40. Ah, that's a lot of people, huh?
When I come to the guys in America, I like to conversation about work and messenger, and they ignore it. Fantastic. Only in email.
I do sometimes, and sometimes they answer back. And then we have to have.
Something to know is,
Because here in Russia, we use Facebook like a work network.
Like LinkedIn.
like LinkedIn,
Yeah, like LinkedIn in America. Yeah.
it's a numbers game. Most people aren't going to respond to your email. Most people aren't going to respond to your Facebook Messenger. You might get 1 in 1,000 on Facebook Messenger, but at least you get 1, right? So yeah, that's right. People maybe don't love getting messages on Facebook or receive it. Email is the best communication in the United States right now.
But what about teenagers? I do know that they don't use any emails or LinkedIn and stuff, and it's just, almost impossible to reach them out, without, I don't know.
Yeah, of course. So I wouldn't necessarily target them specifically, especially since it's harder if they're not in the workforce. I would target the institutions that they're a part of. So any kind of high school, anything that teenagers are a part of, if you have something that's to help them, or again, I don't know exactly what it is, but whatever it is, what can you target that these high schoolers are a part of, so then you get access to many. Maybe you're just saying, hey, I want to do a research project, or I need to interview several of your high schoolers because I'm building a product for them. So go to where you can have access to them. So.
Are there any special like catchy subjects of the letters, or like first sentence which may attract?
We're having that first meeting. The first thing we have to do with a person is build rapport. We set the agenda. Do you guys remember I came in here, I tried to make a couple jokes, tried to make everyone feel comfortable, and then I laid out the agenda for what today is going to be like. Agendas make you feel safe, warm, fuzzy. Part 1, part 2, part 3. Okay, she's almost done talking. Great, now I can ask her the questions I want to ask her. Whatever the thing is, right? And then discovery. When you're meeting with someone, this is going to be the most important part, because this is where you're uncovering all of the answers for how you are going to position your product and how you're going to sell it. Again, it doesn't matter if it's transactional, if it's for consumers, if it's $10, if it's $1,000, if it's $100,000. You need to know those answers because you need to know how to position it. And then the presentation. That's the positioning statement. That's how you're differentiating yourself from the competitor. That's how you're conveying that you're taking all these variables and you're solving all of their problems. And then close. This is the ask. This is asking for the money. You know everything. You've gotten everything out. You've presented this perfect solution for them. And then now you're asking in a price point that, of course, is something that they're comfortable with, because we know that they have the willingness to spend that amount. And follow up. These are the next steps. Build your list of 4,000, or just start going at 100 a day, 100 a day, or give yourself a goal, 100 a week. Give yourself a timeline, work backwards. Set up at least 40 meetings. Go to America. Or at least do video conferences or video calls if you can't get there. But you can start this tomorrow. You can start this right now. Shoot, it's, I don't know, 2 p.m. in Texas? Like, shit, start calling them now. Get your pitch, start selling. You don't have to be in America to sell, but if you know your pitch, you can be anywhere in the world. And you can join us in this American dream. So, thank you guys for coming. I want to open it up for questions, Q&A, whatever you guys, yeah.
Yeah, can you explain more about 40? Why 40?
Yeah.
Why 40? Well, in my experience, with 4 different companies, generally the number that has been statistically significant for me to make sure that the number was right, or to make sure that everything was right, was 40. Most of the reason why I do this number is because it's almost 10 more than it needs to be. But if the number is too little, if you get a leading indicator that this is the pitch, then what you can do is actually in the next meeting almost make the person say the same thing. And so you're going to be giving yourself false positives in a way that it's not going to actually work for you. And you're going to do all this work and spend all this money and not necessarily have like hit the nail on the head, a colloquialism we use in America. With 40, a lot of times there's been some things I've discovered near the end of these conversations that have surprised me. So it ends up just being a good statistical significant number in terms of what the problems are, what the issue is. It also gives you enough of an option to go to the lower end of the market, mid-market, high market.
Do you make A/B tests for pitching, like pitching one to another one, compare?
So the question was, do you make A/B test with pitching? Absolutely. Absolutely. A/B test all the time. Try different initiatives, try different hypotheses. That was something we were able to do at Chatfuel really, really quickly because they have such an influx of leads and prospects. It was a dream. I was able to have many, many conversations over and over, and we were able to A/B test. And what I would say is, when you're doing something, pick one. Like, don't A/B test on the same person. Pick one for one person and one for another person, obviously, but it might not be so obvious, okay?
Also, you know, when people meet me, they usually meet me to listen to my presentation. And so how can I make a discovery part before the presentation and to spend up to 2 hours on it?
Love this question. He asked, When people meet me, they're meeting with me because they want a presentation. How can I spend this amount of time doing a discovery? Well, that's up to you. And the reason why I say this is because every single meeting I've ever set for myself with sales has been to do what's called a demo or a demonstration. Most of the demonstration is them talking because I can't sell them if I don't understand. So the way that you do it is you simply set the agenda like, hey, awesome, I'm so glad that you're here for this presentation. Before I can make this presentation relevant for you, because there's lots of different ways we can go down this conversation, I really want to ask you a lot of questions about you, your business, where you're coming from, just so that I can make it more relevant and custom for you. So you're basically asking them, hey, can I spend most of the time asking you questions so that I can sell you on the things you just told me?
Okay, one more question. I know you said we don't need a salesperson, but do we need a person who is native speaker? Because my English is far from perfect, and I'm going to have a lot of conversations. So could it be a deal breaker not to be a native speaker?
Okay, the question was, I'm not a native speaker. Should I hire someone that's a native speaker? Would it be a deal breaker if it's a native speaker? I love this question because, again, we're a country of immigrants. Most people, not most, but a lot of people in America have accents. Their English isn't perfect, and that's normal to us. That is, especially if you go to a big city, it's normal for people to have accents, so it's not necessarily a deal breaker. If you're across the table from a person, it's not a deal breaker at all. If you're on the phone with them and you're here and they're there might be things missed and you might not necessarily understand all the things that they're saying, but that could also just be because you haven't been in their market to understand that question. So it doesn't matter if you have an accent, especially if you're in person. So I wouldn't say it was a deal breaker.
My name is Tanya. We talked before, and I would like to understand better how can I be sure that one from this 40 conversation have some kind of success? What kind of results can I took from them, and how can I analyze all this data? Because yes, we have a framework, but it's always different results. And of course, I'm making A/B tests, which even one more and they a bit different, I think.
Yeah.
Things. So how can I analyze all these cases? Maybe can you recommend some way?
Okay, so Tanya asked, I have these 40 conversations. How do I know if I'm A/B testing or I'm making these recommendations, if this is the right pitch or if this is the right, what's the result? And the answer is they'll buy. They'll actually ask you to buy your product. When you're testing your pitch or you're practicing your pitch, it's a really good, easy way to take the pressure of buying away from them and enable them to actually buy. So when I started my own company, I had this, I'll give you my own perfect example. I started my own company. I wanted to do outsourced product development in the United States because when I was a part of all of these startups, a common complaint everyone had was, man, I want to build this thing. I want to build that thing. I want to hire these engineers. We don't have the time. We don't have the resources. I don't want to use these dedicated resources to build this integration. I need to build this integration. And the main objection for not doing an outsourced product development company was because the person they were talking to was in India or was overseas and there was a language barrier. So I thought to myself, I know technology, I know the lingo, I know Americans, I'll be the communicator, I'll be the middle person. I went to the market, I did the exact same thing I'm talking to you about, and no one wanted to buy. No one was buying. It's like, man, where did I go wrong? Where did I mess up? Iterated. It turns out people don't want to outsource product development. They just want more resources. They just want more engineers. And so I started tweaking my pitch and I was like, okay, so I've got these guys, they're amazing engineers, they specialize in the different components. And so I went back and I was talking to the same group and I said, all right, I've got these guys, they're very talented, they specialize in this thing that I knew that this guy wanted to do. I have no place for them. I set up all this company, I set up this infrastructure, I'm doing all of their payroll. Man, if only I had a company that could just pay me to take them off my hands. And every single person I did that to was like, can I hire them? Can I hire them? How much would they cost? And so the idea, I changed from outsourced product development to staff augmentation. And it was not necessarily anything that was elegant. It's never going to be elegant. But the way that it's going to tell you that it's working is when people ask you, hey, can I have that thing? When can I get that thing? Can I start that thing tomorrow?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, is there any way a startup school can help me get better in sales in the United States?
It depends on what startup school. YC startup school? You know, I haven't gone through it personally. YC is a great program. So it's, of course, anything's going to help. The one thing that YC will do too, the YC startup school will do, is it'll add to your social proof. So